Hi, I'm James Doss-Gollin, an assistant professor in civil and environmental engineering at Rice. Now, when you think about water in Houston, you probably think about images like this one, which was taken during Hurricane Harvey. And Harvey did indeed drop record-breaking amounts of rain. But over the past decade, we've seen several other storms, some tropical cyclones and some not, cause devastating flooding. Moreover, smaller storms that maybe don't cause major flooding along rivers and streams can still cause local flooding, make roads impassable, flood sewers, damage infrastructure, and much more. Now, many factors shape the risks that we face from heavy rain. For example, urban sprawl reduces natural infiltration, moves water through cities faster, and of course puts people and property in harm's way. We've also seen climate change drive measurable increases in hazard over the past decades, and this trend is only going to continue looking forward. Of course, building codes, aging infrastructure, and social inequalities exacerbate the vulnerability of many communities. Now, these challenges are by no means unique to Houston. As you can see here, many of the biggest cities and fastest growing urban areas around the world face very similar challenges. The good news is that there's lots of ideas about how to tackle these challenges. For example, there are many creative proposals for large-scale physical infrastructure, such as tunnels to speed water out of a city. We also see ideas to increase the adoption of financial instruments like flood insurance to improve disaster response and recovery. There's also broad visions like sponge cities that emphasize restoring natural processes and slowing the passage of water through urban environments. Now, all of these approaches have shown promise and have worked in specific contexts, but we need to understand what works, where it works, and why it works if we want to understand and address our vast adaptation needs. Unfortunately, the tools and metrics available today are often inadequate. For example, we might decide what the 100-year flood is based on single variable statistics. We can then run that through a hydraulic model to see how many buildings flood with and without a proposed piece of infrastructure. Now, this type of approach has merits, but it's also silent on questions like where to place distributed green infrastructure, how flood impacts from smaller and more frequent events will change, how to sequence and prioritize drainage improvements, or how to choose green versus gray infrastructure. If we want to answer these questions, we're going to need more sophisticated models. First, we need to understand and simulate heavy rainfall, varying across space and time and in a changing climate. We'll then need to map those onto many possible floods, all the way down to the scale of people and infrastructure, accounting for the very different mitigation strategies that we might employ. We'll need to estimate impacts on infrastructure, households, and businesses. Now, we're currently working on this with great collaborators blending insights from earth sciences like climate science and hydrology with data science tools like Bayesian statistics and graph neural networks. But there's a lot of work still to do. With your help, I'd like to improve and scale these types of models. I welcome collaboration and feedback from everyone, but I'm especially looking for three types of collaborators. First, I'd love to hear from folks on the ground in cities worldwide who are struggling with specific decisions about managing extreme rainfall. The challenges that you're wrestling with will help us better frame and understand the problems that we study. Second, I'd like to continue collaborating with experts in machine learning, remote sensing, and data assimilation to improve our ability to predict urban flooding. And finally, I'd like to hear from social scientists, economists, and community leaders who want to help improve the metrics that we use to define success, or the way that we understand and frame decisions and trade-offs. If any of these seem interesting to you, please shoot me an email below or visit my group's website. I want to conclude by thanking Manu and the ASU Water Institute for organizing this wonderful event.